up, friends? This is Jazz bringing you another For Better or For Worse vlog, number 44, I believe. I got 2 new strips today, plus 1 newer version of a previous strip. The first strip is from August 30th, 1989, and Elizabeth, Dawn, and I believe Christopher are on their way to the bus stop, and it's like, we get to go on a new school bus this year, Liz. We get a new driver and everything. I wonder if it'll be a lady or a man. Probably a lady. There's no sweat. I think that's Dawn and then Christopher talking, because it's a shadow. And he's like, yeah, you could do anything on their buses. All they do is yell at you. Unless we get Mrs. Grunion, which is the teacher, or the bus driver they got. Like, I guess this is a bus driver that is tough or something? I don't know. I don't think I remember seeing Miss Grunion often. You know, before that, I don't think we've ever saw her. They just suddenly just don't like her. So, maybe there was a backstory to her. I don't really know much about that. But yet there are it's funny. Just like teachers, there's bus drivers have different, obviously they're all people, so they all, of course, they have different personalities. Like, I remember in my time that I remember, I had 3 bus drivers that stood out the most. One guy was pretty nice, but he, like, when I was little, and I was, like, in 3rd grade, he'd only let the one 6th grader at the back of the bus, and all the younger ones, especially if he didn't know them well enough, like, always had to stay in the front, right? Like, I was one of the ones that stayed in the front, right? For the longest time till I was near in 6th grade, and I actually was one of the ones allowed in the back. So, but he was a really nice guy, just kind of, and he wasn't even, like, mean strict. He was more protective, you know, kind of like wanted to keep things chill, wanted to be able to keep an eye on the students on his bus, kind of. There was one I had in middle school who, it's kind of confusing. He could be fair, I think, if the kids on his bus weren't bad, but I had a good friend, and I'm not going to say his name, right? We're not on bad terms. We just don't socialize. And he was always like 3 years younger than I was, and he was in elementary at the time. He was always kept at the very close near the front because the bus driver just didn't trust him, right? But he was okay with me, and he actually saw me as someone who calmed this student down, right? That helped this one, right? So he would say if he knew the guy was in a bad mood, he'd ask me to talk to him. So I never had bad issues with that bus driver, right? The other kid did, but that I was bringing up, my friend did. But he, like, as I said, he could be extremely fair, right? Because there was also a client on the bus who had, you know, a severe disability, nonverbal, and he went to the same elementary school, but he was older, I guess. Maybe because where school I went to didn't have a special ed, right? Maybe that's why he was at the elementary school until he could go into the high school with a special ed classroom. I mean, I know him now. He goes to my workplace, we'll just say. But my point being is that this middle bus driver was fair. He wasn't like, he could be strict, but if you treated him well and acted okay, he treated you well. And the bus driver I had in high school was extremely nice. He could get mad very rarely when he did, but he could be he was one of the friendliest guys you could have met. It really got enjoyed having me on the bus. I had him since I was in high school and even in the return grad year, so he was like the nicest guy. I actually miss him, right? So my point being is, bus drivers, just like teachers, just like anyone, it depends on who you get and how you behave. It just, I guess this Miss Grunion is extremely strict. So let's get on to the final strip. Alright, the final strip is from June 8th, 1988. also on June 8th, 2017, which is the remake of it. And John's like, Ellie wants to remodel the kitchen, Gene. Why would she want to do that? Sure, put a little paint on, buy a new stove, but remodeling costs a fortune. She's like, oh, come on, with the expense bit, she said you never even flinched when you paid for that sports car last fall. And he's like, something tells me I'm going to pay for the sports car for the rest of my life. Oh, that's hilarious. And that's true though. I mean, when you think about it, a sports car is a show thing, right? It looks cool, and yes, you can get around in it like a regular car, but it's not very practical, especially getting it for himself. A new kitchen, well, Ellie works there all the time. She cooks for them, she cleans it. Okay, you know what? You know what? Even cooking meals. I mean, I don't do it very often. And if I do anything, it's like chicken burgers or oven required, like in the oven required things, not the stove. My aunt cooks all the time for me, which I'm grateful for, despite what it might seem. But the point is, Ellie cooks the meals. She does, she uses the kitchen, right? She does the dishes in the kitchen. So it would be nice, when she does so much for the family, if they can, I mean, they could still, if they can't afford it, they can't afford it, but if they can afford something to make it a little nicer for her, I say, why do it? Why not do it, right? I mean, John has a decent job in that time area as a dentist. Ellie sort of has a job at the library, so she does bring in some money now. If she wants something a little nicer, right? If it was something okay, it's nice when you get your loved one something special, whether it's jewelry or whatever. But, I mean, technically what Ellie wants here is practical. It's not only something new for her, but it's something she can use to provide something for her family. So it's not like she was asking for a pearl necklace or a diamond ring. Yes, I know they may be cheaper than the whole renovation. I don't know, but they don't have really any practical use besides looking nice if she goes out somewhere. Now, guys, I'm not saying don't occasionally give your girl who loves jewelry or makeup some jewelry or makeup. Or if they like a video game, whatever, right? To occasionally treat them. If, again, you can afford it, right? But if it's something practical and you can afford it, and it benefits you too, I wouldn't complain. And it's true, though. John is going to be paying for that sports car for the rest of his life, and it's so funny how Gene literally is on Ellie's half the time. I think Jean is on Ellie's side in these situations, maybe because she's a mother herself and a wife herself, so she kind of gets it, as a woman in that era. But I think obviously one of my favorite characters in this whole series is Jean, because there's not very many people when your spouse works with someone. Not very often do you get along with them so well. I mean, yes, you could tolerate them and even, admit they're nice. But Ellie and Jean just seem to get along great, right? To the point where there was a time where Jean even said, I work for your wife on the side. When she told John the list of things Ellie wanted him to do before he left. So, I would say that they're not BFFs like Connie and Ellie or even Annie, who they see almost every day early on. But she probably could, if they had more time to spend together, they probably would have a coffee or do something, I think. And she's just easily one of my favorite characters in the whole strip. And I'm actually glad in a sense that almost all the way to the end, Jean was a part of the strip. Unlike some characters like Annie, who was phased out shortly after April was 2.5, 3. I mean, Annie had appeared in near the end of it as what is a host of the motel of Liz's wedding, but she was really not often shown ever since April was a year or two old. And I mean, the reasons were given for it, right? But Jean was almost in and out throughout the whole thing. So I honestly wish they had shown more independent, strips with Jean. I mean, even Annie had one or two to herself because she was having the baby, but it was still one or two to herself, right? Yet Annie was phased out of the strip. I mean, I honestly would have liked to learn more of Jean's home life. I mean, that's still. Anyway, I do kind of agree with Jean on this. Like, John is complaining. Yes, I can understand it's pricey, but again, it's benefiting himself and the family too. Unlike if she was just asking for a fur coat or a diamond ring, this benefits everyone involved, right? I mean, as I said, I don't cook. I don't do much laundry. I really got to get to doing that. So I don't really understand it as much, but I can understand with Ellie's situation how it would be very nice for her to have a new remodeled kitchen. And it's not like she's asking for a new house. I mean, just So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel and like what you see, please subscribe. It helps this channel a lot. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you'll know when new videos are coming out. And I will see you guys in my next video.